Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's debate. My name is Jasmine and I'm the chairman, and Emily is the timekeeper. The adjudicators are Mr. Huey, Mr. Sunman and Ms. Duham. The topic for this debate is that there should be a mandatory retirement age for politicians. The affirmative team seated to my right is from Aberfoyle Park High School. The negative team seated to my left is from Nazareth Catholic College. The speaking time for this debate is 4 minutes, with a double bell at the end of the speaking time. A warning bell will be rung once at 3 minutes. A continuous bell will ring 30 seconds after the final bell. I declare this debate open. I call upon the first affirmative speaker, Zeke.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Chair. The topic for our debate is that there should be a mandatory retirement age for politicians. We define this topic as that there should be a mandatory, being required or obligated to follow by either a rule or law, retirement being defined as the action of permanently leaving leaving one's job and ceasing to work, retirement age 75, for politicians, someone professionally employed or involved actively in government politics. We, the affirmative team, firmly agree that this statement is true. As the first affirmative speaker, I will be discussing the benefit of new ideas and perspectives that come with regularly refreshing those in power within government, how younger generations are more adaptable and understanding of current global concerns, and finally, how degrading health comes with age and how health issues can affect politicians' abilities to making decisions. Our second speaker will be discussing how older politicians tend to be more self-focused when it comes to politics, as well as how it promotes inclusivity and diversity within politics. Our third and final speaker will rebut and sum up our team case. Firstly, I will be talking about the benefits of younger perspectives on politics. Fresh and innovative new ideas can be formed from the most unexpected of situations and of people. The participation of young people is vital in order to accelerate progress on the future goals of government, quotes UN.org. It's found that the greatest changes have been made, new ideas and discoveries found, in the last 50 years compared to hundreds of years before that. This is all thanks to systems placed in the Australian government that have resulted in the continuous refreshment of new politicians over the years. Elections are held for the public's opinion to be acknowledged and answered. By addressing the issue of how older beliefs and perspectives have been affecting progress, politicians can be filtered and limited into only allowing those under the age of 75 to run for government politics, allowing more room for younger viewpoints. This leads me to my second point, the necessity of adapting to society's changing times and issues. Leaders who are more in touch with current concerns have a higher likelihood of effectively helping change and improving Australia socially, academically, economically, and through many more ways. ncbm.llm.nih.gov conducted research exploring elderly people's inability to adapt to society today. It showed that due to physical, emotional, or mental conditions, those over the age of 70 have been shown to have a hard time understanding and therefore interacting and engaging in the modern world. For my third and final point, I will be talking about how age can lead to health issues that can further affect the decision-making abilities of politicians. Having a mandatory retirement age assures that politicians will be their best in mind and body. It also assures Australians that their country will be governed correctly by people who are well and able to do so. According to the World Health Organization, those over 65 commonly experience at least one health restriction by that age. This can include, but is not limited to, hearing loss, osteoarthritis, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, diabetes, depression, or dementia. We cannot allow a government to be run by people who are unable to be at their full health. For action to occur, changes need to be made. Action needs to take place at the source, and there needs to be a restriction on whom we allow to represent Australia in politics. To conclude, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, it is in the hands of the next generations to come together and, quote, renew, refresh and maintain the current status of society, states Gary Chaddick, and instead of limiting their hands by keeping old perspectives in power, allow them to take a step forward and stop politics from becoming a government-funded retirement home. Thank you.
I call upon the first negative speaker, Naya.
Good evening, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that there should be a mandatory retirement age for politicians. We agree with the definition given by the affirmative team. However, we, the negative team, believe this statement is undeniably false. Today, as first speaker, I'll be discussing 2 points. My first point is how setting a mandatory retirement age for politicians will prevent them from acquiring a deep understanding of complex issues, policy-making processes and governance. And my second point will be about how a mandatory retirement age for politicians can be seen as encouraging ageism. The first affirmative speaker has tried to tell you that by having a mandatory retirement age for politicians will give a better grasp of modern day challenges. However, senior politicians bring decades of experience and expertise to the table, which can be invaluable for making informed decisions and navigating complex issues. Having a pool of aspiring young leaders does not ensure the readiness or suitability for the political office. Swinburne University research highlighted how mentoring programs enhance the development of political leadership. Therefore, older politicians with experience are needed to be mentors. I'll be discussing 2 points. My first point is how politics requires a deep understanding of complex issues, policy-making processes and governance, which can only be achieved over a long period of time. Setting a mandatory retirement age for politicians will limit their time in office, making it difficult for them to gain the experience needed to deal with challenges of political leadership. An article in The Guardian stated that many politicians start their careers in other fields before entering politics. This experience is gained through years of working in the government, engaging with various stakeholders, and navigating the intricacies of political systems. This leads me to my second point, which sees mandatory retirement age for politicians as encouraging ageism. Ageism refers to discrimination or prejudice against individuals based on their age and can enable stereotypes and biases. Ageism does not take into consideration an individual's abilities, qualifications or performances. The Australian Human Rights Commission addressed a complaint by a 70-year-old pilot who was compelled to retire at age 70. The Commissioner found the airline's mandatory retirement policy at age 70 to be age-based discrimination. The pilot's skills were deemed unaffected by age, leading to a recommendation that the airline end its age-based retirement policy. The Human Rights Commissioner recommended that the Commonwealth enact comprehensive national legislations to prohibit age-based discrimination. So, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, politicians, like any other profession, should have the freedom to continue working as long as they are capable and have voters' support. There should not be a mandatory retirement age for politicians, as older politicians possess a greater capacity for sound judgment and decision-making, drawing from the knowledge and lessons they've learned over time. And as Mark Twain said, age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, then it doesn't matter. Thank you.
I call upon the second affirmative speaker, DJ.
Good
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that there should be a mandatory retirement age for politicians. We, the Affirmative team, believe with certainty this statement is false. The negative team has tried to tell you that this decision could be seen as ageism if we limit the retirement age for politicians. This is wrong. The purpose of retirement age isn't age discrimination, but to give people of all ages an opportunity to contribute and hold political office, and preventing any one of age group from controlling majority of the power. As of currently, according to the University of Canberra, the average age of Parliament representatives in Australia is 52, which is even improved compared to last year and other countries. A balanced political landscape can benefit from younger viewpoints and experiences and prevent enrichment of power caused by extended careers. Even after retirement, there are opportunities for experienced politicians to mentor young ones, share insights, and create healthy, collaborative political landscapes that take all ages into account and encourage a healthy turnover of leadership. Our first speaker has already informed you about the benefits of new concepts and perspectives that come from a wider variety of ages from those in power within government. How younger generations are more understandable with current global concerns and issues. And finally, how your health degrades along with age, causing prominent issues that affect their important decision-making skills. Today, I will be talking to you about 2 points. My first point is that older politicians often care more about self-preservation than older politicians, and often care more about self-preservation of outdated views when compared to younger politicians. This is because, according to Pew's Research Centre, statistically around 80% of older politicians have longer careers in politics, which can lead to a greater emphasis on self-preservation. They may be more concerned about maintaining their positions, positions, and legacies, potentially at the expense of broader societal interests. According to Emma Vanguard, political orientation and viewpoint developed within youth doesn't substantially change over age. This means that despite their experience, solely having extremely old politicians won't provide us with better ideas or perspectives. What will provide this is having a wider variety of people and ages, which will be the result of providing an age restriction. Wiley stated that older politicians, in fact, generally have slanted views when it comes to sexism, racism, and homophobia. This, however, is not the case for all. However, generally, this is a problem. That's why we need to balance out the scale with younger politicians to provide diversity. This leads to my second point. My second point is that having younger retirement age will open up positions for younger, newer politicians. With a retirement age in place, more individuals from various professions and backgrounds might be inclined to enter politics, knowing that the age will not be a barrier for participation. This can bring a wealth of expertise and experience into government. According to Daniel Stockham from the University of Gothenburg, on an average, politicians and members associated are 20 years older than an average citizen. After conducting a poll, he found that 90% of people believe that there should be a mandatory retirement age of 75 years. He found that 78% of people agreed having younger people in power would make politics better and improve our country, and proved that, according to the citizens, people 18 to 35 feel underrepresented. This is about a third of the voters in Australia. According to WBUR, patterns like this were also majorly found in America, Japan, India, and Switzerland. It's crucial to remember that individual motivations and priorities can vary widely within any age group. Effective governance often requires a mix of perspectives and experiences, both young and old, to strike a balance between immediate and future needs. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we the negative team are certain that having retirement age will provide inclusivity and fresh, new, innovative ideas without the restrictions of self-preservation and decision-making issues. Changing our society this way will provide better results for the country. A quote from Enoch Uhuma: "Youths are the lifeblood of any nation." Thank you.
Thank you.
I call upon the second negative speaker, Eamon.
evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that there should be a mandatory retirement age for politicians. We, the negative team, believe that this statement is false. The first speaker of the affirmative team has tried to persuade you that politicians should have a mandatory retirement age due to the decline in ability that older politicians may experience. However, research by the National Institute of Aging has shown that you can help preserve your health and mobility by adopting healthy habits and lifestyle choices. This is why 19% of the workforce aged between the ages of 70 and 74 are still working, which is no surprise considering Australia's ageing population. The second speaker of the affirmative team has tried to tell you how setting a mandatory retirement age for politicians will support succession planning. However, Australian Parliament House Strategic and Workforce Planning currently has an effective model that allows experienced politicians to share their wisdom and knowledge with younger counterparts. This allows aspiring leaders to learn from those who have navigated the complexities of politics. Allowing politicians to retire when they are ready creates an atmosphere that promotes information sharing and mentoring between senior and junior politicians, supporting succession planning and a seamless transfer of power when the time is right. Our first speaker has already stated how setting a mandatory retirement age can be seen as ageism to elderly people. She also spoke about how politics requires a deep understanding of issues, policy making and governance. Today I will be speaking to you about 2 points. Now to my first point. Elderly people have a higher amount of crystallized intelligence. The reason for this is, as age increases, crystallized intelligence increases. According to frontiers.org, a psychologist called Raymond B. first proposed the theory of crystallized intelligence. The meaning of crystallized intelligence is the ability to use one's accumulated skills, varieties of knowledge, and the experience to make informed decisions. And this is according to dictionary.com. According to verywellmind.com, as age increases, the amount of crystallized intelligence increases because of their amount of experience. This means that older politicians can use the higher amount of crystallized intelligence to their advantage. An elder person could have used a large experience within politics to try and make informed decisions for the better of their country. Now on to my second point. Older politicians have knowledge of continuity. Older politicians who have been in politics for many years can use their experience of the past to their advantage. Within the last 30 years, a lot has happened. The passing of the reconciliation in Australia policy, the infamous Mabo decision, the legalisation of same-sex marriage, and 8 different prime ministers. Younger politicians, for example, may have entered the workplace after COVID-19, emphasising how little experience they might have. Why should we trust Australia's futures to politicians so young? Using statistics from the Parliament of Australia, if a forced retirement was around 60 was introduced, approximately 20% of the current politicians would be forced into retirement. Think of the years of experience that would be wasted away, washed. The deficit of politicians from this may debilise Australia from the amount of open positions in different political parties. These will need to be filled, and we are losing valuable thinkers and decision makers. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, this is why a mandatory retirement age for politicians should not be established, as they have wide experience within crystallized intelligence. They also know how to tackle in real life problems within our world today, and they make up over 20% of the current politicians. We should not make a retirement age to get rid of these politicians, as this would destabilise Australia. Thank you.
third affirmative speaker tomorrow.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that there should be a mandatory retirement age for politicians. And as the Affirmative team, we firmly believe that this statement is wrong. Tonight, as third speaker, I will be rebutting and summing up my team's case. The first negative speaker has tried to tell you that older politicians have a better understanding of long-term policies and therefore can make more effective decision-making. This is wrong, because whilst experience is important, it isn't the only factor when it comes to making effective decisions. Having a diverse range of ages in Parliament, including younger politicians, ensures that policymaking stays balanced and considers the changing issues of current society, rather than only having policies made by a specific age group that fail to account for the needs of a broad range of citizens. Take climate change as an example. According to Climate Council, our current, almost all older politicians are failing to take sufficient action despite the urgency of this issue. They might struggle to empathise with this issue on the same level, and probably grew up when there wasn't as big of an emphasis around it. You don't need to be young to care about these kinds of issues, but it seems fair that the generation that is going to feel the immediate effects of them should be having more of a say in the decision-making process. The first negative speaker also told you that a retirement age doesn't take into account individual capacities. However, creating a consistent retirement age can keep things simple and prevent arguments or lack of clarity that would come with individual assessments, and keeps everyone to the same clear and fair standard, leading to a more stable government with a healthy rotation of leaders, and therefore less potential for leaders to cling on to power way beyond their most effective years. As Rebecca T at International Strategies discusses, she says, quote, "Enforcing a retirement age would ensure no individual retains power or control indefinitely. In a way, it is human nature to retain power and control for as long as possible. This can be beneficial in some ways, but in the long run, it has the ability to corrupt the system it once served to protect and uphold." The second negative speaker tried to tell you that experienced politicians might have what he called crystallized intelligence. However, in the political landscape, there are always new challenges emerging. And whilst older politicians might have longer experience, they could also carry preconceptions and biases. It's important to keep innovative thinking in policymaking and ensure that, in a constantly evolving environment, decisions stay forward-thinking and relevant. He also told you that most workers aged 70 to 74 are still working and healthy. However, this is irrelevant to this debate about a 75-year-old retirement age, as 70 to 74 is below the proposed age. He also tried to tell you that younger people in the party will need mentoring from older politicians who have been in the political landscape longer. This is true, but older politicians having a retirement age wouldn't prevent it in any way. Older politicians can still take consultancy or advisory positions and keep passing down their knowledge to young leaders after they have retired. Our first speaker has already talked to you about the benefits of the fresh perspectives of younger leaders in politics. She then spoke about how crucial it is to adapt to society's changing times and get more modern views on current issues. She finished with a point about health decline concerns. Our second speaker discussed how older politicians tend to be more concerned with self-preservation than the overall benefit of their citizens, and how retirement age will give youth more opportunities to pursue political careers. So, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, mandatory voting in Australia is enforced from just 18 years of age, and the current average parliamentary representative age of 52 is representing a generational and social gap between our young voters and politicians. Our current system is unbalanced, and an enforced retirement age isn't about disregarding older politicians' contributions, but about balancing them with fresh perspectives and innovation, creating a dynamic, inclusive environment that keeps in touch with the needs of Australia's future leaders. It's important to challenge norms and bring open-mindedness into the political landscape. So let's embrace change and give younger people more opportunity to be the rising leaders of their own generation. Thank you.
Did you just say she?
I call upon the first negative speaker, Supriya.
Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, the topic for tonight's debate is that there should be a mandatory retirement age for politicians. We, the negative team, strongly believe that this statement is false. The first speaker from the affirmative team has attempted to convince you that forcing politicians to retire will help them better understand the problems of today. Senior politicians, on the other hand, bring decades of experience and expertise to the table, which can be invaluable for making decisions and navigating complex issues. The availability of aspiring young leaders does not guarantee the appropriateness or preparation for political office. Instead of depending on a mandated retirement strategy, the emphasis should be on finding and developing individuals through merit-based selection procedures and leadership-based development programs. The second speaker of the affirmative team has attempted to convince you that a mandatory age retirement will make room for young politicians who can bring new ideas and perspectives to the political scene. Nevertheless, we must be aware of the difficulties and complexities involved in playing the role of a politician. Setting a retirement age for remaining in politics, which could result in the loss of expertise and be harmful to the way the country is led, and to the decisions that need to be made to run a successful country. These complexities and challenges require the expertise of a more experienced politician. The third affirmative speaker has tried to tell you that having a mandatory retirement age will promote a more diverse representation of politicians in Parliament. However, Australia is all about democracy, which means ruled by the people. Demos, the people, and Kratos, to rule in Australia. The community chooses representatives to make decisions on their behalf, which is called a representative democracy. The Sydney Morning Herald called Australian democracy a global leader. Our first speaker has already stated that mandating a retirement age for politicians could be interpreted as promoting ageism, and how ageism does not take a person's skills, credentials, nor performance. She also spoke about how politics necessitates a thorough knowledge of complicated topics, governance, and policy-making procedures. Our second speaker spoke to you about how older politicians have had more experience and knowledge. Thus, older politicians have crystallized intelligence. This demonstrates how senior politicians can benefit from having more knowledge in that certain area or field. It's possible that the seniors utilize their extensive political experience, which would be again another great addition to Australia's Parliament. Additionally, he discussed how experienced politicians who have been in politics for some time may benefit from the familiarity with the past. Wouldn't we all want someone experienced running our court? So, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we the negative team strongly suggest that there shouldn't be a mandatory retirement age for politicians because it can be advantageous for politicians to be more knowledgeable in the area. The seniors can make use of their broad political background. Thank you.
It's just going to retire for a few minutes.
Second speaker going over the line, but apart from that, though, it's very even.
It'd be worse if they lost it.
You didn't have a sister.
What do you reckon?
Because I kept like, right, the second person, and the third person. Yeah, this was just too much for my small mind.
They were ready for the age limit to be on as well. The second plus another one on 60-year-olds. I think they were ready for a 75. 75 is as I said, you can always mentor and they love their consulting money.
Kidding me?
Stuff's better than the real pay. Then they get to go and get their retirement pensions or
You know what our role is as parents here? Swim parents? Children. Isn't it right?
Well, I'm having that. Be grateful.
What?
I'm saying to my daughter, be grateful.
I didn't start singing. Yeah, well done, team. It was fine. It was fine. It was.
way older one. That's
Stressful, God.
It was like thinking 12.
Yeah.
Pretty sure the unit because I can't remember what he said. They had a debate in Aberfoyle was telling me that year 8 guys in the 12. He had 19 you 12 one last night as well. The first quarter, and then they'll be because they can't compete until the finals as well. Like they're just at that opposite point. Where even if they both win this round, they won't meet. They'll have to meet in the final round.
So, and they go to this home ground. I heard the name. So, my daughter is mom. She goes to mid-school. No.
The majority played at Capra.
Everybody wants to
Other round, there's a few and then there's
Oh yeah.
So, very good job to both teams. Congrats on making it to the quarterfinals. You guys have done really well throughout the season, and especially this debate as well. It went really smoothly. Both teams had really well researched arguments, and the articulation of ideas was also excellent from both teams. There were some points that could have been even further elaborated, but overall both teams did really well. So by a split vote, the winning team tonight is the affirmative team. Good job. And the speaker of the night goes to the third affirmative speaker.
I now declare this debate. Oh no, sorry. I call upon the member of the runner-up team to give a vote of thanks.
On behalf of the negative team, I would like to say thank you to Aberfoyle Park for putting up a good debate, the audience for spectating, the chairman and timekeeper, and most importantly, the adjudicators.
I call upon a member of the winning team to second that vote of thanks.
I'd like to thank the opposing team for giving us a fun debate. I'd like to thank the members of the audience for watching over, and I'd like to thank the adjudicators and the school hosting this round for making this happen. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance. I now declare this debate closed.